Hello and thanks for joining me. It is an absolutely beautiful day here. It's the middle of winter here in the UK at the moment, but you can still get some great riding days here in the winter just like this. So that's one of the reasons why I don't put my bike away over winter, because you miss out on the opportunity to get out on days like this. Now, I understand a lot of people put the bikes away because they're worried about salt, and obviously you've got to be careful about that, but if you look after your bike and protect it well, then you can still have some great riding through the winter if you pick your days. So anyway, I'm out today on my Triumph Scrambler 1200 XE, and I bought this at the back end of last year, and this is my new touring bike. So I want to talk about why I chose this as a new touring bike, my new adventure touring bike, because it's perhaps not the most obvious choice. So I want to start off by saying that I'm actually a long-term BMW GS rider and owner. I owned a GS 1200 Adventure for 10 years, and I've been all over the world on that bike, crossed the Arctic Circle on it 4 times, had fantastic adventures on that bike and loved it, but it was time to move on. Now, I've also ridden most of the other big adventure bikes, not all of them, but most of them. I've toured quite a bit on the Triumph Tigers, both the older models and the newer 1200s, on the 800 as well. I did, for a couple of years, own one of the big KTM adventure touring bikes as well. And if you follow this channel, you'll see that last year, back end of the summer last year, I took one of the new Harley Davidson Pan Americas out for a test ride as well. But out of all those bikes, I've decided on this, and I decided I wanted this 1200 Scrambler. So why? Well, again, if you follow the channel, you see my videos. I toured quite a bit on the Triumph Bonneville T120 in America. Did a big tour around Nevada, California, Arizona. Covered about 2,000 miles or so on the Bonneville, and absolutely loved it. And it made me realise how I prefer touring on lighter, naked bikes rather than the big adventure touring bikes. And weight is a big issue, and I'll talk about that more a little bit later. But I realised that I just don't need the big screen up front. I don't need the big harp panniers and all of the other stuff that comes with the big adventure bikes. Nothing wrong with that, of course. Nothing wrong with them, and I still love the GSs, and I thought the Pan America was a great bike. But for me, I just feel, at the moment anyway, this is what I want to be riding. I absolutely love the style of this bike, and of course, the way that a bike makes you feel is a very important part of the ownership, and I just think these are beautiful bikes, this Bonneville range. Obviously, I own one of the older Bonnevilles. I've got a 1970s T140, and I adore that bike. And so, of course, this modern bike takes a lot of its styling from that heritage, and I just love this old school look. Whilst you've also then got the thoroughly modern bike that you're riding with a lot of the features of a modern bike. So yeah, I rode the T120. I've also ridden the T100. I've ridden the Thruxton as well, but I just felt that this Scrambler was better for me as a sort of go anywhere adventure oriented touring bike. It's got better suspension, it's got better brakes, it's got a bigger fuel tank than the T120. It's actually lighter, quite a bit lighter, and noticeably so when you're riding it, than the T120. And of course the engine, even though it's the same engine, it's got a different tune, and so it's got more power. This has about 10 brake horsepower more than the T120, and again that's very noticeable. but at the same time this bike's still got all the style and charm of the Bonneville range, and it's an absolutely beautiful bike. So those are all the features that I love about the Scrambler and the reason why I chose it. But I do admit I did have some reservations about buying this bike as a touring bike. Firstly, I was a little bit worried about the fuel range, and that comes from the fact that I'm used to riding the BMW GS Adventure that's got a huge fuel tank. But this bike has a practical range of about 180 miles, which is absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. Most of the friends that I tour with have bikes with a less range than that, so I don't feel I need a bigger range than that. I was also a little bit worried about the seat and the seat comfort. It's just got this sort of bench seat on it, this, but in actual fact, it's very comfortable. I'm finding it great. It's fine, no problem at all. Luggage as well. I'm used to the BMW with the big aluminium panniers, and you can basically take everything, including the kitchen sink, with you on the BMW. So with this, I've got the side bag. I've got the little side rack that comes on the left-hand side with the Triumph bag, and that pannier is actually amazingly spacious. And that with a bag across the back seat, a hold all across the back seat, actually gives me all of the capacity. Luggage capacity that I need, even for camping. And one thing I do love is the fact that you're not as wide as a lorry, because one of the problems with all the big adventure bikes with the big aluminium panniers on, and particularly fitting them around the high level exhaust, is the bikes tend to be really, really wide with all that gear on. So yeah, it's nice riding a bike that's got a bit narrow and slimmed down, and I'm very comfortable with the soft luggage, because I use soft luggage on my little KTM when I'm off adventure touring. Yeah, what else? Sorry, I just switched the camera off for a while. I just had a little think about other issues with the bike. One of the other things I was actually concerned about was the digital dash. I've never had a bike with all this fancy digital stuff on it before. I'm old school, and I like the twin clocks, what have you. But I didn't think I'd like this digital dash, but in actual fact, I'm loving it. I love all the different riding modes, and I love all the information that you get on the screen. And it's a really nice, clear display, and I don't think it has been digital. It's nice. Also, the bike's got a lot of great features for touring. It's got cruise control, it's got heated grips on it. Of course, it's got the different rider modes, and they are very noticeably different. They're very impressive. But I think one of the things that's most important for me on this bike is the relative size and weight. It's quite a small bike, is this, and it's also quite light. It's just over 200 kilograms. Now, obviously, that's not light by off-road bike standards, such as my little KTM, but I'm not really intending to use this for off-road. This is more of a longer distance touring bike. And if you compare that to other bikes, it's very favourable. I mean, the Triumph Tiger 1200 is about 250 kilograms. The GS 1250 is about 250 kilograms. The Pan America is closer to 260 kilograms. So this bike is very noticeably smaller and lighter than those big adventure bikes. And I think the thing for me is I've spent so much time over the last few years riding off-road on my little KTM 450. I've just got used to riding a smaller, lighter weight, naked bike with soft luggage without a big screen on it, and I just feel really comfortable on that. And for me at the moment anyway, that's the way to go. Of course, one of the greatest features of this bike, and I'm sure this is what everybody says, is this engine. It is just such an awesome engine to ride. It's not hugely high power compared to a lot of the other big adventure bikes that are knocking out 150, 160 brake horsepower. This one just knocks out 89 brake horsepower according to Triumph, and it has 81 foot-pound of torque, but that torque is on tap immediately from very low revs. which makes it just such a relaxing bike to ride. You don't need to rev it out at all. It just chugs along, a bit like my Harley Davidson really, just chugs along at very relaxing, low revs, and that relaxing ride is so important for me for touring. So, I love it. Lots more videos on this bike coming up in the near future, I'm sure. Hope you enjoyed this. Ride safe. See you on the road. Bye.